Now I can see that we have had a few people join early and a few people join nice on time. So what we'll do is we'll get started with a little bit of housekeeping while the stragglers join us, and then we'll jump into today's session. So this is a public webinar. So for all of those attendees who might not be used to any of our webinars, just note that we do keep you muted and we do keep cameras off. Quite often with a large audience, it's a lot easier for us to just take care of your questions in the chat, and we make sure that the lovely Kim here, who is our panelist, is able to help you out as you go. So any questions you guys have, anything you want to say, whether it's hello, how you going, love that feature, want to know more, throw it straight into the webinar chat box and we'll help you out. We also have today's session recorded. So at the end of today, we'll get this recording spick and span for you. And within the next day or so, you'll receive an email with a copy of that recording. The recording can also be found on our YouTube channels, where we keep all of our webinar recordings across all of our products. And everything we cover today is available in our help centres and in our REPIT property management academies. So don't worry about writing down every single step or every single thing I show you today. You'll definitely be able to find it all later. So with that, we will get started. So today's webinar, Applications and New Tenancies with Console Cloud and Inspect Real Estate, is hosted by myself, Alison, and we have the lovely Kim here helping out with any questions that you might have. Today we're going to have a look at, there we are, hey Kim. We're going to have a look at a few things here. We're going to look at setting up the integration. So between Console Cloud and Inspect Real Estate, we do want them to talk so we can seamlessly send property and application data back and forth. We're going to give you a little high-level overview of processing applications in Inspect Real Estate. So we won't deep dive, but we'll give you some tips and tools. And then we'll go through and finalize the successful application with a new tenancy in Console Cloud. Now, just to hear from you guys a little bit, we do want to just check in and see what you guys are currently using of our products. So this is a multi-product webinar. We're going to be talking about Console Cloud and Inspect Real Estate. Just popping that out there, you'll see that on the screen. You can see we've got a few Inspect Real Estate clients here with us. Welcome. And someone also using Agent Box. Nice to have you on board. Okay, so it looks like the majority of you are from Inspect Real Estate. So thank you for sharing that, and we'll close that now. Okay, so let's get into our integration piece. So for those of you who haven't actually looked at the Console and Inspect Real Estate integration, the integration is designed to make that application to new tenancy workflow a bit easier, a bit less full of data entry, and a little bit less of an administrative task. So what it's designed to do once it's set up is, as we have vacant properties come on the market, when we complete our on list in Inspect Real Estate, it's going to start to pull through owner and tenant details from Console Cloud. As we get applications, process applications, and move the successful application through to paid, it's then going to push that applicant's information through to Console Cloud with some of the tenancy details already filled out so that your new tenancy is half done for you and you just need to finalize the setup. Now we're going to go through the setup process, but just to note that what we're doing here is permission-based. So you might not have the right access to Console Cloud or Inspect Real Estate. If you don't, that's okay. Find your key office administrator or diamond user. So I'm going to start in Console here. Now down in Console, we're just going to jump down to the marketplace. Now the marketplace is where you can see if you're an Accelerate or a Premium client. It's where you can manage all of your REPIT extensions, and it's where you can activate many integrations with Console. Now, if you're wanting to get started on the Inspect Real Estate integration, you're going to pop straight into Inspect Real Estate. You're then going to select whether you're a new client or existing. So if you don't have subscription or lettings or to apply with Inspect Real Estate, just pop on new client, hit next, and one of our team will help you out. But I'm just going to make it that I'm an existing. Excuse me. And then it's going to give you this wonderful API key. Now, don't try to decipher something like this. This is simply what's going to connect our two systems to talk. So you're going to copy this key to your keyboard, and then you're going to pop across to Inspect Real Estate. So copy here, pop into IRE, and then down the side menu, we have a section called Repeat Integrations, and this is where you're going to do the work to connect the two together. So in Repeat Integrations, it's then going to allow us to pop in that API key and select how we want data to flow back and forth. So just in here, you can see I've already popped it in. Now, what I've asked it to do is send that application data to Console Cloud and receive property data from Console Cloud. That isn't quite all the setup. There is one more thing we'll do in here. So what we'll do is we'll pop down to Settings, we'll pop into Applications, and we'll pop into Status Rules. And what we're going to do here is we're just going to nominate which status will allow us to send information to Console Cloud. So scrolling all the way down here, once you've activated the integration, you'll have this additional status rule here. And what you're going to do is just select when you would like the data to feed to Console Cloud. Now, I've selected it paid. Yours might be successful. Yours might be something that you've done custom, but paid is what I've done here. Hit save, and that's finalized. Now, once you've done that, back in Console, you can hit next and you can finalize that. What you're looking for, if I just pop into my Repeat Training Office here, is you're looking for the green tick of success. So you can see here, Inspect Real Estate, I've got a little green tick. That means both systems are there, they're talking to each other, it's successful. If you have a little orange clock, means that the API isn't active yet. That might be because you're waiting on a new account, or it might be that you just need to walk through those steps again. But that's as simple as it is. You're done. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to walk through that process of vacant property coming onto the market, and then we're going to look at the applications off the back of it. So we'll start up here. We'll start up in our applications section. So we're going to go to properties and then residential. We're going to come across to the applications workflow here. Now, we're not going to be managing any of our applications here. We're not going to be processing anything. All of that is being managed by letting and to apply. But what I can see here is I've got a new property on the market, 25 Garden Street. It's vacant. I've got my owner. Nothing's happening yet, and I've just listed it on the portals. So in Inspect Real Estate, I'm going to follow that same process that I hope we are all following. We're going to manage our on list. So I'm going to come to Reports, Letting, On List. We're then going to pop into Action On List, and from 25 Garden Street, we're going to hit Action. Now, I'm going to try not to walk too heavy into this, but what you want to make sure is that we do have our available details. We've got all of that pricing information, and we have any property specific information here. Now, if you're using an uploader that's not Inspect Real Estate, this also feeds through. That's absolutely fine. And hopefully you don't have to do too much data entry when you're getting through here. I'll just pop in a little image, pop in my images here. And then what we're looking for and what we'll see is once we actually have all of this information sent through and all of the information entered into the system, Console Cloud's information on its owner and its tenant, if applicable, will then feed through to the on list. Now, hopefully you guys know the benefit of the on list, but if you don't, the benefit of the on list is it allows you to then confirm and update any key details that you might want to have specific in here. And with the owner and tenant information, What it's also going to do is it's going to help with that automated messaging. So as Inspect Real Estate starts to message, you then get a choice of just having all this information already pre-filled. Now, this was a vacant property, so there was no tenancies. But as you can see here, straight from console, Michael's been pre-populated. So I don't really need to do anything more from here. And as I go through, I'd just be hitting next, next, next like normal, updating any specific property information I'd like to merge in, and completing that on list as normal. So going to skip through this a little bit here so we don't reinvent the wheel. And that's it. My on list is done. My property and my ownership details are filled in from Console Cloud. Now let's jump in and let's have a look at applications. So we're going to fast forward a little bit in time. We're going to find out that we've had all of our inquiries, we're getting inspections in, and applications are starting to flow in. And in this system, I'm using To Apply. So I'm getting a lot of applications in from To Apply. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop down to Letting and the Applications menu. Now there are two sections in here you can work through depending on what your preference is. So under Applications, this is my applications grid. It has every application that has been put through, and it's a list view of applications. So if you have one person sitting here who doesn't work on a specific property, screens all the applications before the property manager has a look at them, they might choose to work within this grid. Or they might choose to work in the Properties menu. And the Properties menu at its top level gives you an overview of the property, how many apps are attached, when it's available, and key listing agents and property management information. And what the benefit of working within this view is that if I wanted to look at all of my applications for 25 Garden Street, if I click through and hit View Apps, I now have all of those applications in one section. I've got a high-level view in which I can then break down the information, start to shortlist, add notes, or even hide your information or hide an application that's not suitable. Now, what we're going to do is, like I said, we're not going into the dark depths of all of the functionality here, but we're going to work through a few things. So for those of you who aren't as comfortable with processing applications, get a little hint over it. And then we're going to process a successful applications. So what I'm going to look at here is my applications. Now I can see all my current applications. I can see the application contact, and if there were multiple prospective tenants, I'd see that as well. I then have a high-level visual of how many applicants, how many dependents. So you can see down here, Mary, she has 2 dependents, and how many pets. So Alison here has 2 pets. You can then see the rent they've suggested they'll pay and the affordability ratio. So straight away, I can see that we're getting some interesting figures through here. We've got Will, who's going to be popping in $550 rent, and that is 24% of his income. And that's a green because that hits my affordability ratio. Nicole and Alison, still uncertain, but okay. And then Mary down here, who has put through a nice rental figure, but it's not an acceptable figure in terms of percentage of income. So this is just giving us, again, that high level, is this affordable? Am I going to have potentially future arrears issues? We can see the status. So these are all new, fairly new property, and we can see what they've popped in terms of lease terms. So do they want a 12? Do I want a 6, etc. Default status here, and we can change the status. And we can also hover over the view references and see the status of the references. So Will's application here, we have 2 references that have been sent out to their address and employment. We can resend it if we need to. We have any notes. So if you're working in a team, someone comes in, reviews it, adds notes, we'd be able to pop over and see those notes here. And we'd be able to love heart or move to the shortlist. viewing, I can jump in, view all more details, or from the three dots, I can perform some quick actions. So again, shortlisting, adding notes, creating summaries, viewing PDFs. Now, from the top here, what I might do is I might choose to shortlist a few. If we're having a look here, Will, Kim, all look really good to me. So I might shortlist those immediately. If I was looking at Mary, I might choose to view the application. And then depending on where it is, I could then update that status. So we're going to show it from here and then we're going to dive into the application, having a little look. So Mary didn't give us enough information, so I could update that status to more info required, bringing up the status change wizard. And depending on how you've got your to apply system or your application set, as statuses change, it generally can trigger default actions. So in this case, it could be an email or an SMS gets sent. I'm going to send an email to Mary. I'm not going to send it to the agent. I'm going to hit next, and then it's going to give me the option to customize it. So I'm unable to proceed, don't have enough information, and I might update this. Please send across the details of a referee for your current address and employment. Off I pop, I'll hit send update. That's going straight out. It's going to sit there and wait for me. So now it's in more info required. It's sitting down here in current, waiting for her to come back. Now we're going to pop into Will here. We're going to have a deeper dive into his application. So if I hit view, now I have the full application, and there can be a lot of information here. So as I scroll down right at the top, Will's given me a lovely summary of himself. Best tenant ever. Further down, I can see his occupation and income information. And it's also giving me a little flag here. He wasn't able to provide enough information. I requested 3 pay slips. He's given 2. It's let me know that. I can see his reference summary. So they're sending, can resend. As references come back, they'll update. And I can see that breakdown of dependents and living history that we saw up the front. Can see his financial information. And as I come down, I can also review his ID documents. So it's all popped through for me. I can then check, yep, this looks good, or I can approve all fields. Keep scrolling down, I can see database checks, I can see the details of his pets and vehicles. So I've got a really nice overview of what his tenancy is going to be like. And all of this is being powered by the To Apply platform. I can see if there are any IP conflicts, so if perhaps he's his own referee. And I can also, as I go down, scroll through the sidebar if I want a quick nav. Now, again, if I was working in a team, if I wanted to make sure that someone knew I'd checked this as it came in, I could mark as checked. Or perhaps I could flag it as requiring further information or flag for review. Over the side, all the activity is being logged, and any office-specific tasks and warnings are showing up. So you can see here, I already verified the identity, I've confirmed the income, I've confirmed the current place of employment, it's past affordability, and now I've just got my database checks. From my warnings, I can see anything that might conflict with this property might be a bit of a warning for me to look at. And it's again, just trying to make things a little bit simple for you. Now I am just going to pause here and check out the chat. So I can see that we did have some questions around if things are being recorded. Yes, absolutely, it is being recorded. For those of you who have only just joined us, we're going to pop it on YouTube a bit later for you guys to have a look at, and you'll get an email with a link to that. Now, again, up the top, we have the 3 dots. So Very simple icons when you're in a system. 3 dots gives you more options. Edit pencil, update something. Delete icon like you see here, get rid of something. And from here, we could add an additional applicant. So if Will had a partner or a friend or a family member going to move in with him, we could add the applicant. We could do contact to the applicants or the owners. So we do have that great status log. That status log is going to keep our owners and our tenants up to date and our agents, but we can contact individually. We can create some summaries or comparisons, and we can send all our references as well. So you've got these actions direct from here. From the status, again, I can then change the status. So I could say that perhaps this is with owner for approval. I could change it to waiting payment if they're successful in waiting payment. And I can also change it to unsuccessful or withdrawn. Now, what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to quickly pop back to my application grid. I'm going to close this down. I'm just going to show you a comparison tool. So we've liked Will and Nicole. They're good. Let's pretend I've reviewed it. What I'm going to do with my 2 little applications here is I'm going to bulk select. And then down the bottom, I have the ability to compare. So if I hit compare, I can pull side by side these 2 applicants. I can have a look at, okay, what's the status? What's the lease term? How many pets, vehicles, etc. What's the rent they're going to pay? And I can action down the bottom as well. So you can see here, it's a nice little comparison tool, gives you a chance to actually go, all right, which one is a bit stronger? I can then view it from the eye, preview an external page, or I can send an external link. So if I had a look at this and I wanted to send it to the listing agent and the owner to compare, I could select those, I could hit next, and I can send that comparison across. So again, making it really easy for me, send it across, pick up the phone, hi Michael, sent you across some applicants, which one do you think? Once he's gone through, perhaps he's reviewed, perhaps he's approved it. Again, I can then move forward. So I'm going to pop back into Will, across in my application info. Down the bottom, I could then formally ask for owner approval. So this is also a great tool for you if you're not using this. This provides an email to the owner, ask him to approve the candidate for tenancy. So I'm going to go ahead, ask owner for approval. Again, we have our lovely little status wizard or contact wizard coming up, going next. It's going to pull through a little approve decline button, and I'm going to send it across. It's going to send across, and I'm going to update that status to with owner and hit OK. Now, if I pop back to my applications grid, we'll just close this one down and just run a little refresh. We'll see that that application's with owner, pending approval. Now, let's do a little recap of what we've just gone through with our applications. Again, a little bit high level, a little bit quick, just so you guys understand the key functionality, and then we're going to approve that application, get it into Console Cloud. So in our letting applications properties, this allows you to review all your properties available and review applications by property. And that's going to give you this lovely list here. This at a glance view is where you can see all of the current applications in this property. And from a high level overview, you can start to review each application. We can see the application information here in terms of how many contacts, dependents, and pets. We can see the affordability ratio, the lease terms and the current status. We can view the references and we can also see any notes that have been added. Little love heart short lists them. We can deep dive in with a view, or from the 3 dots, we have little action notes. From the overview, we can change the status, or we can dive in by clicking view, work through the application, scrolling down as we go, using icons like the edit to update things, the plus to add. For things like our financial information for our ID documents, we can check and approve those documents. You can do it one by one, or you can tick, tick, tick. We can request database checks or an NTD report, review any pets, vehicles, and check all of the IP conflicts and logs. Over the side here, as things get changed or updated, that activity is going to log, and we can add keynotes. We can view any warnings as to why this might not be the best applicant for this property. And we can complete tasks. Now, these tasks, like I mentioned before, are independent to your business. So you can create your own tasks, set them in place, particularly helps if you have split responsibilities. Markers checked once we've checked it. 3 dots, more actions. And across in application info, if we scroll down, we can also ask the owner for approval digitally. Changing the status opens up the status change wizard. So let's say I've looked at Alison here, I've looked at her application, she's provided false information, perhaps things have come back from her database check that don't look good. I could put it into unsuccessful. Now, it could be unsuccessful good. Yeah, she's good, just not successful for this property. Or it could be unsuccessful, unsuitable. And that's more the might not be someone we want to rent to now or in the future. We'll go okay. Depending on how you have your system set, it might open up a status change wizard, which will then give you an overview of the communication. You can update it, you can send it. Closing that down, if I refresh my application summary here, you can see that as we moved that one out, it's dropped off my grid and I'm only working with my current applicants. Now let's keep rolling, and we've got approval back for Will. So Michael's given me a call, said, yep, loves Will, approves him for tenancy. We then keep working down our processes. So for your business, it might be that's it. Let's get the bond, let's get the deposit, let's do all the signing, etc. And then you'll update the statuses as required, including moving it to the status that will then send it to Console Cloud. So in my database, that's paid. Now, what it's done is it's now opened up a pop-up asking me to confirm which property I want to send this tenancy to. So 25 Garden Street, it's found a matching property. From the drop-down, select that, pulled through the address information, and I'm going to hit Use Selected Property. Now, a big benefit of this integration is it's pulled through the lease details that Will has put forward. I, however, at this point, can update it. So he said he wanted to start on the 25th. We're actually going 31st. We're going to go lease term 12 months. That's automated the end date to the 30th of July next year. We've got an achieved rent. If he's using Easy Bond Pay or anything, that's going to pop up and we can see that breakdown there. We're going to hit OK. Going to do it shebang, and then it's also going to off-list or prompt us to off-list the property. So the good thing about Inspect Real Estate, not only the messages, not only that automation, it's trying to make it foolproof for you. So I would go here, complete the off-list. Now, popping over to console here, I'm just going to run a refresh on my applications workflow. And then scrolling down 25 Garden Street, you can see that Will Bishop has come across from Inspect Real Estate. If I was to look at that application here, you can see that it's pulled through the application information. All I need to do is hit Create Agreement. I'm going to hit Continue, and suddenly my agreement has pre-filled. It's got the lease type, it's got the lease start, it's got the lease name. And as I go down, it's also pulled through things like the rent and the bond. So all of this information coming through, making it really easy for me to then go and do the final bits of setup. So that could be checking on the rent invoices, setting up recurring outgoing, setting up rent information. You can also see down here, I've got my additional occupants. I've got my little pet in. Hitting save and next, I'll then be able to schedule my entry. So let's pop that in for 2 weeks after he moves in. And I'm going to set my routine frequency as well. So first date, we're going to go September. It's going to go every 3 months. It's going to assign to me. Popping down, inviting Will to our console tenant app. Going to be really handy to remind him to pay his rent. And we're going to hit save. And that's as simple as it is. As soon as I've flipped that status to the one I set up earlier, it's pushed the information to Console Cloud. I've hit Create Tenant Agreement. I've confirmed a few small details. Everything else is pre-filled and I'm ready to go. So just checking in on the chat. Looks like not too many questions in here. So let's do another recap and then we'll wrap up today's session. Okay, so Console Cloud and Inspect Real Estate integration is set up in your marketplace. You'll jump into the little Inspect Real Estate section. Once you're in here, now you can see mine's already live and running, so you don't need to do anything. But you'll copy the API key. You'll come across to Inspect Real Estate and down to your Reap It integrations. You'll paste it in. You'll hit tick, tick, and save. What you'll do next is you'll set up the status in which you want applications to send to Console Cloud. You'll do that under your status rules, right down the bottom, send applications to Console Cloud. When you on-list your properties, information from Console Cloud is automatically going to pull through. So your owner details, your tenant details, meaning that when you have those automated messages coming out of Inspect Real Estate, you don't need to worry about having that information there. As you manage that property, as that property is on the market, you'll have your inquiries and your inspections all flowing through and your applications as well. So using To Apply, those applications should have a lot of that information pre-filled, and you can set and manage how certain statuses and communications are triggered. Within your properties grid, you can then work through the applications around a property. Your at a glance allows you to see that high level information. What do they have attached to them? What is their affordability ratio like? What lease terms do they want? What are their references like? You can shortlist, you can view, and you can do things such as creating summaries or compare applications. Updating the status generally triggers something next. So if there's more info required, I'm going to send an email out. I'm going to put in what I need them to send to me. If they're not suitable for this property, but they are actually a good candidate for other properties, I might pop them into unsuccessful good. If not, unsuccessful suitable. Popping into view an application. Under application info, I can digitally ask the owner to approve or decline a tenant. I can flag it as with owner. And once I move it to the successful status, that will then prompt me to push that information through to Console Cloud. Once it's in Console Cloud, within the application workflow, it's as simple as then hitting against the application, create agreement. That create agreement will pull through key lease paid to date details to the tenancy agreement, meaning that all I need to do is set up those final pieces of the puzzle. So that was our Console Cloud and our Inspect Real Estate integration. So it is a fairly seamless integration. It's designed to make your day-to-day easier, not harder. It's designed to reduce all of that manual work you might do, particularly if you're using the most of Inspect Real Estate platform and the most of Console Cloud's platform. Now, I am going to throw a quick survey into the chat as we wrap up here, because we do like to hear your feedback about our training and receive any suggestions for future training. I'd also like to call out that we are working with a whole range of connected platforms here. So when we did that survey at the start, what product are you using? It was great to see we had some people on here using AgentBox, Inspect Real Estate, Move Me In. All of these are products that we're building and have built to work together to go end to end in your business. So all of these sit under the Reapit umbrella. All of these have integrations that we're working on and getting closer and closer every day, so you guys can do less as a property manager, as a business owner, as a sales agent. Now, after today, like I mentioned, you will get an email shortly with a link to our YouTube channels. All of our educational webinars are sitting in there. Refresh or jump into the Help Center, either in Inspect Real Estate or Console Cloud. You'll be able to access the user manual and our property management academies. And with that, we're going to call that a wrap. So thank you all very much. If you guys have any final questions, throw it into the chat for us. We'll help out. Otherwise, have a lovely day and look forward to seeing you at our next one.